All right, market check for this beautiful Friday. Let's get straight into it. So I was in a oil. I ended up taking an oil long, which I got completely stopped out of. I'm not gonna exactly dissect where it was. It was a high time frame model. It was this model right here, as a matter of fact. And yeah, that was my tap. 1, 2, and 3. I entered on a break of structure somewhere in here, but then there was supply here, which, as you can see, this is terrible drawing, but you get the gist. As you can see, got mitigated, and we have since gone down. So there was reasons for us to reject, and we did reject. And yeah, I had like somewhat of an opportunity to de-risk, but this was overnight, and yeah, and it is what it is. And that was supplied there as well, which I believe we rejected from. But yeah, we longed like in here, so we kind of got stopped out there, like quite perfectly, to be completely honest. Yeah. We rejected perfectly from supply and continued to go lower. Yeah, and the context remains bearish on the short term. The daily. Yeah, daily is still bullish. So far the plan still kind of remains, as much as I had that accumulation model, which, and there was more reason to go lower because there was heavy demand below it, which I'll actually add that in my journal. Unmitigated high time frame demand below as well. That is my journaling for here. So yeah, expect us to continue to go lower and maybe bounce off this. Something like that. Other than that, keep it simple. Not much more that needs to be done here for oil. Let's skip. We'll go back to silver, but let's see what gold is doing. I'm seeing a decent looking accumulation model, potentially. I just have to zoom in and see what on earth is going on there. Well, ironically, we're still bearish on the hourly, and we would therefore still be bearish on everything else. Yeah, we're still kind of bearish. The only thing we have done is leave somewhat of a demand here. So we will see how price reacts over here. But yeah, just food for thought. We are still quite bearish, so expect us to possibly reject this demand and just continue. Oh yeah, disrespect the demand and continue going lower. We'll put our alerts there. Yeah, maybe we can see a accumulation model here. We'll see. Like there still is supply above. That's just something to be aware of. So I do expect lower as much as this accumulation range is forming. There's lots of supply above, which I expect rejections from. There might be some refined supply here. Yeah, look, it on the lower time frame it has been mitigated. Like this whole sort of move has been mitigated. So I can technically, I'll happily remove it from my chart. Um, yeah, so that's where we were. That is fine. That can go. There's not a whole lot that I'm gonna really monitor at the moment. We have supply. Although you can say it's not the cleanest because it hasn't actually grabbed anything to the left, so it's kind of just sitting there. And like if you look at the bigger picture, the return to zone is like decent. It's not the best, but it's far from the worst. Like it's pretty good. I would say so myself. So yeah, we'll see how we react, whether we do something like this and come up and mitigate that supply and then just slowly come back down into demand and then break for that potential move up top. That is quite possible and can happen, but at the moment we just have to be aware what our context is. Yeah, and just trade with the context. So yeah, at the moment, not a whole lot that I am interested in from gold's perspective. Silver is... Oh, we'll remove that. Well, I have a feeling we might be bullish on the hourly now. That is mitigated ever so slightly, so I'm no longer interested in that move. Yeah, we're now bullish on the hourly. We're still bearish on the 4 hour. However, we're bullish on the 3 hour. Just something to be aware of there. And now let's see if we have any refined demand POIs. I will allow this as a refined demand POI, or just as a demand POI as a whole. And this is where the unmitigated part of this demand starts from. But overall, the daily is bearish. The 4 hour is so far still bearish, so we can obviously expect to go lower. We have demand below, so just be patient. Based on, it'll be interesting to see how we bounce off this demand. That will kind of showcase if we are to go higher and potentially go to bullish in the 4 hourly and above as well. Otherwise, if we disrespect this demand, then yeah, we're probably gonna continue to solidify the daily and below to like the 4 hour being bearish, and maybe transition to bearish in the 3 to 2 to the 1 hour as well. So yeah, that's it for silver, and that is it for commodities for today. Yeah, even locally, nothing here really worth trading. Yeah, then gold, ideally this might be able to become an accumulation model, but it'd be nice for that supply to get mitigated first and foremost. Yeah, that's all I have for commodities. Let's go into Forex. We are bullish on the hourly. We remain bearish on the 4. So yeah, we can still expect a retracement, pull back into supply here, and then a rejection. That's something I would definitely keep an eye out for. Technically speaking, could even go as low as here. Not a whole lot I'm interested in for AUD CAD, to be completely honest. You have some demand here, some structured demand. But yeah, we have just converted to bullish, or transitioned to bullish. There was our bullish break of structure. And yeah, we can get a pullback for a continuation. Honestly, there's not much more to do for this pair, so we will keep it moving. GBP JPY still remains a very interesting pair, as we've kept like forming these distributions and then completing them, and then eventually coming back up and going higher than what the distribution was prior. So yeah, I think there's like half an example there, and we've gone higher. And this would have been an example, but it was never a legitimate distribution because we just had two taps, tap one, tap two, and we've gone higher. So at the moment, it's kind of in this very awkward situation where, yeah, there's just not a whole lot going on. It's just very up and down price action. And to just double check the context. Yeah, we're still bearish across the board here. So nothing has changed. There is demand below. Like, you could kind of get away with shorting and then just having this demand as a TP for like a very short or low time frame scalp, but I just don't like how there's a little bit of refined supply above. It doesn't have to get mitigated. It really doesn't. But what I don't like is the fact that we've confirmed the model here. So we have our model 1. Bam. This is an already confirmed model. And then you have our, at the time would have been an extended tap to make a confirmed extended model 2, but then we've deviated that tap, making this, technically speaking, the most recent tap, but I'm not a fan of when that happens. But I'll give the benefit of the doubt as we're already in a confirmed model 1, so whether we deviate this extended model to, it doesn't really matter as much because the model's already been confirmed. Whereas if it hadn't been confirmed and we've just made a, let's say this was below and this was tab 2, and then this was a confirmed tab 3, if we then deviated this and made another tab 3 here, I would not be looking to enter, like unless I got an entry here, I would not be looking to enter unless we deviate it and make a model 1. But this is of no use to us because the model 1 is already there. So that's my thought process, my thinking process there. Like at the moment, we've also got some demand here. Yeah, this is valid demand. But yeah, at the moment, like we're still expecting to trend in a bearish direction. Like nothing has really changed. And to be completely honest, I am actually expecting this to just aggressively pump down, flush down at some point. I can very much see this happening. Like we've been pushing up for so long, like look at these high low, high low, high low, high low, high low. Like this is the perfect recipe for us to just compress and then bang. This can be such a likely thing of what's going to happen. And there's your compression right there. Boom. So yeah, we'll wait and we'll see. But in terms of at the moment, in real time right now, there's not a whole lot that I can do here. We will move on. I think I did speak about AUD. Yeah. USD, Swiss franc. Off the bat, I can see we've broken through supply. And we may have even left some supply. But nevertheless, I'm still paying attention to the higher time frame model, which is this for now. So I do expect us to continue trending overall higher. Yes, we can have these pullbacks, but eventually make that second tap and then come back up and then make that third tap and then flush. That remains the plan, but for now, I think we may have just shifted to bearish on the hourly. That's fine. This is not good as my battery may have just run out. This is not good. Well, yeah, we've broken structure here to bearish. The structural break happened here. So we are now bearish on the hourly. We have also broken structure to bearish on the 4 hourly. So this is actually quite interesting. Now the lower time frames are aligning with our high time frames. We're officially bearish across the board here. So this is quite interesting. Yeah, so this was also our daily high as well, which was never broken, and it was just an SFP similar to the weekly. So yeah, like technically speaking, we can kind of expect distributions right now. I'd say we don't necessarily have to come back up and create this high time frame distribution model, which who knows how long it would take, just because the context is so bearish at the moment. Like, I would not be surprised if we continue to go lower. So yeah, I'll definitely be setting some alerts at the supply around here. And I'm quite confident there's a few levels of supply here that we might mitigate. Some more refined than others. So quite a few supply levels here. All this has been mitigated. So our focus by default goes to the more refined supply. Yeah, that's fine. We can now pay attention to the more refined supply. And yeah, expect a rejection from here. Whereas if we don't reject and we continue higher, then obviously the focus then becomes on the higher time frame model. If we do something like that, then we're looking for a model 1 or 2 in this higher time frame range. So that remains the plan there. Let's have a look at Euro USD. Has also rejected from a few supply POIs. Well, I do believe we are still bullish thus far on the hourly. Yeah, so this was a weekly break of structure. Let me just turn my notifications off. Perfect. Yeah, like overall we're still quite bearish here. This could just be a temporary thing, going bullish on the hourly. We have rejected from supply, so we have left demand below, so that will be interesting. Yeah, at the moment it's just one of those things where it's like, what level are you going to be hitting first? So yeah, just be patient and pay attention to what level gets tapped first. That's kind of it. And there, you can use this as demand. I will allow that. Alright, that's it for USD. Not a whole lot that interests me. Euro NZD. I'd go as far as saying that we are now oh yeah, so we are still bullish on the hour because we've SFP'd our market structure low. So yeah, we remain bullish. The 4 hour is now also just bullish. There's our break of structure. There's our break of structure, which is quite clean. It's a very clean break of structure. And we even had a second candle follow through. And then we SFP'd our, what is now our 4 hourly low as well. Yep, we've SFP'd our 4 hourly low, so now we can expect a rotation back up. And then the daily. The daily is still bearish for now. So yeah, I guess at the moment there's not a whole lot that I'm interested in. Will we get a very local distribution there? Maybe. We can definitely pay attention to it. We've actually not made a second tap, which is something I'm never a fan of, front running that second tap. So we will see if we do get a second tap. So far it's just the one tap. Don't be fooled. And we have a little bit of supply above. Doesn't necessarily do a whole lot. Well, the supply from here has been mitigated. So we'll see if we come into this more refined area, but same thing, not a whole lot that interests me at the moment for Euro NZD. You got a OBIF, a demand OBIF right there. Same thing, doesn't do a whole lot, doesn't grab anything. That is just my trading view notification going off on Euro NZD, which is what I just placed. Like, so far there's a decent return to zone sell side wise, but just the context isn't necessarily to short right now, I'd say. Like the fact that we've SFP'd here, especially on the 4 hour, we've SFP'd this on the hourly, but also on the 4 hourly. You can you can tend to expect a full rotation back up to the most recent pivot point, which is up here. So yeah, just be wary of shorting there, which is why I'm very of shorting, and also the fact that this range has absolutely finessed us with front running that second tap. So not a whole lot I'm interested in at the moment. GBP AUD. Well, I missed this one. Let's get the market sessions in. Where were we? Where could I have entered here, ladies and gents? Not nowhere. Like this was going against my strategy because Asia highs have been taken, Asia lows have been taken. Yeah, so it's not necessarily our Forex model that we like, targeting Asia highs or lows. We did sweep the New York low, but it's just one of those instances where it just happens, but it's not necessarily the strategy, the exact strategy. And you could have entered obviously here for like not pretty terrible risk, but maybe there's something more local. Maybe. Could you have gone right up here? Surely not. That's not valid market structure. You probably could have entered here. Would have been the safe spot. Right here. And that alone would have given you an okay 2.5 risk to reward. But maybe you had something on the 1 minute. Yeah, that was actually the most valid entry, most reasonable entry. But yeah, as I said, the fact that Asia high and lows have been taken, it's not something I really like. The lows here, not bad. There's no real, like, when you look at this, guys, there's no real demand holding anything back. Like, just make a big note in your books, in your journals, that like, try find me any form of demand that might hold price up. Like, just try. There's nothing. So that could be a confluence in itself. There is zero demand. I'm now on the 5 minute and I cannot find an unmitigated demand POI. Still looking. Yeah, maybe if anything here, but like by the time you're here, then you can obviously de-risk if you see a rejection and if you're not confident enough. So even so, this. Yeah, so key takeaway here in this model, there's zero demand. There's just zero demand. Nothing is holding price up. Absolutely nothing. So if I could give a takeaway to anyone, it would be if there's no demand whatsoever in a model and it confirms, just take it. Honestly, just take it. Time's fine at 1 day, 3 hours, like, and there's no demand. I'm genuinely impressed by there not being any demand in this 1 day range. So just something to be put in your journal at the end of the day. Yeah, this is probably the cleanest model that's not a valid entry. Zero demand. And it's also counter context. It's like fairly counter context. But that could have just been the pivot point for us to go all the way back for a high time frame Model 1. And if that is, I would be screenshot this, bookmark this video. If we've just nailed the exact pivot point of this whole accumulation model, then that's crazy. Alright, I'm going to have to find a battery, so just bear with me. Bear with me, I'll be back. Alright, yes. We are back. So, as we were saying, we could have just called this exact pivot point. We could have called just this exact pivot point. Where, yeah, just looking at weekly structure. Bam, 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 bam. Literally just a lower high for a lower low. In terms of the daily, yeah, we are bullish on the daily, but as I've said, this could be the pivot point where we end up being bearish. So I will obviously look for a potential re-entry opportunity here. And I will be monitoring this supply POI right here. This supply POI could be absolute money for anyone and everyone. So whether it comes back up here, who knows, but that is the POI that we're monitoring. So yeah, damn, what an absolute setup this was. What an absolute setup this was. All right, well, without further ado, we'll continue. CHF JPY is next. What are we saying? Yeah, an accumulation model sort of worked out there. Similar, like Asia low, Asia high was grabbed. And also it's not the cleanest. But very similar to the previous model, New York session was a liquidity high here, which got taken out. And that's kind of exactly what happened with GBP/AUD. New York session was a liquidity low, which got taken out. So that is something to journal, yeah. But then, yeah, like, even so, the entry here, you got to think, for me, with my schedule, like, would I have feasibly been able to monitor this and enter this? So given the entry would have been here, yeah, I'll say borderline. I'll give myself the benefit of the doubt on that one and say that I could have entered there if I stayed up a little bit late. And yeah, for CHF JPY, where could I have entered here? This would have been not feasible at all. 3:30 in the morning. The entry here. You can win some, and you can not win some. I would say, I would confidently say that we are bullish. We've SFP'd that market structure high. Yeah, we're actually still bearish on the hourly. We are very much so still bearish on the hourly. And this obviously means we're still bearish across the whole board here. So yeah, look for distributions. That is all I can say for now. But yeah, not a whole lot of price movement for CHF JPY. GBP NZD. So yeah, this is an SFP. So we have failed to break structure on the daily, meaning we are still bearish. And then we have officially, oh, is that a valid break? Regardless, even if it is a break, it's as weak of a break as you could get, but let's see if it's valid. Oh, I think that's a break. Yeah, that's a break. We are now, we remain bearish on the 4 hour. And we'd probably be bearish on the hourly as well. Very much so. Yeah, and then obviously we've SFP that, so everything remains the same for this pair. Still stay bearish and I'll change this to an SFP just so we know. But yeah, as of now, there's no real local setup I'm interested in. Yeah, from a local standpoint, not a lot. Yeah, there's just supply here, and that's kind of it. Yeah, that's it. We've got our alert set. There's not much more to do. USD CAD. Well, we've just front ran that supply. Yeah, it's drawn validly. Demand has been mitigated as well, which is very, very good. Daily is bearish. Is that so? Daily is now bullish. And weekly is bullish. That remains the same. Yeah, so we're starting to become more bullish on the lower time frames as well here. Yeah, honestly bullish across the board. Bullish across the board. The only thing I'm thinking is that maybe we reject temporarily at this supply, so you might be able to pull some form of range here, like, you know, a distribution model upon mitigation of supply. That's kind of the only thought process I have here. Other than that, there's not a whole lot at the moment. We got unmitigated demand below. So yeah, overall this pair's showing quite a bit of strength. Yeah, that is it for now. Well, we've definitely I like to think we've broken the 4 hour there. Yeah, we are now bearish on the 4 hour. he would obviously be bearish on the daily. Bearish on the 2 hour as well. Yeah, bearish across the board here. So there is a change in sentiment. And this could be the entry for the extended tap. We haven't deviated that, so it's very valid. Was there a model though? Oh, I'll tell you what, there probably was. I think there was. Yeah, right there. And I'm once again interested as to why I didn't enter anything here. Okay, Asia low. Yeah, it wasn't the cleanest entry, but you get the gist. Yep, so we've completed a very local range there, which could have been the ultimate TCT within TCT. If you took this, you'd already be de-risked by now, so that is the thought process there. And then we've just got a few potential retracement POIs. And we continue to go even lower. Should we ever come back in here, this is where my alerts are going to be, but it's not a given. We rejected from here, and we've also left supply as well. That is quite nice to see. Yeah, a lot of supply. And we're continuing to go lower as we speak. Like, if you really want, but it's not my exact strategy, you could just place along here, put your stops above this model which completed itself, and you'd still get a decent risk to reward just by doing that. And you'd be getting an 11, but it's still quite of a high time frame move just for just an 11 risk to reward. And yeah, the only other thing is that we are obviously slowly making our way to this first deviation, so that still is preventing me. Yeah, the only opportunities too short here would be TCT within TCTs like that right there. And if you took that, then you'd be de-risk, and then you have not a care in the world. So yeah, I'm only looking for more opportunities of retracements to form TCTs within TCTs. But yeah, context is bearish. Let's move on. Euro GBP. Well, this range looks absolutely mad. There you go, model one there. We're definitely bullish on the alley for now. And yeah, it's also to note that we are slowly approaching our first deviation there. Yeah, so overall I can kind of see this going a little bit lower. It's not the cleanest, definitely not the cleanest range. I'll monitor this just for my own sake, but there's not a whole lot I want to work with at the moment here. We might have a nice OBIF there. So we have this, and I'm just gonna validate what other time frames it is valid on. Okay, so it can be a 30, or it is a 30. I think it could be a 15 as well. We have a ever so slightly more refined 15-minute OBIF. And we have a 10-minute as well. That's kind of enough for now. I don't need to go down to the 60-second time frame. Yeah, that's more than enough for me. If we come up, we're bound to reject off one of these. Yeah, and we are bearish everywhere else. That's it for now. If I can get a distribution here, that'd be nice, but we'll wait and see. GBP USD. $19.77. We have obviously front ran this. Just want to see the time difference. 210 days to present is okay. So this is still very much a an appropriate range to monitor. We are in like a bit of an awkward spot, like we're just in the EQ of this range. Is the daily still bearish? Yes. Four hourly still bearish. The 4 hourly high is there. Yeah. Like overall, still quite bearish across the board. Ooh, okay, we are bullish. Bearish, bullish. Well, we're now bullish on the hourly here. While I'm here, I'm going to quickly test my... Let me test my red light glasses, just see what they look like on the charts. Alright, this is not necessarily the best because I can't see the colors. Yeah. Okay, so we're bullish on the hourly, bearish everywhere else. We have left behind quite a bit of demand though. There's a lot of places we can reject from here. Like there are so many POIs we can reject from. So many. So many. That's one right there. Well, we've rejected from that. And then we still have this 3-hour OBIF right there. So we will see what happens. And yeah, alerts are set as well. And ZD CAD. What's happened here? Okay, not a lot. Little 2-tab model there. Leaving behind a lot of demand. I'll also stand up for these last. Yeah, so we have demand here. Weekly. we've still got that sell side liquidity there, which I'm still convinced that, not convinced, but I'm still confident that it's going to get swept. Like, that's just too clean. Well, I believe we're bullish on the weekly, to be completely honest. Unless I'm missing something, I think we're quite bullish on the weekly. Structure was broken there, right here. And when have we ever come... when have we ever gone below this PLI? We haven't. We're very much so bullish on the weekly. Is that the daily high? Okay, I think that is. Yeah, that's fine. That is very much fine. We're still bearish on the 4 hourly. Oh, are we actually? That's our 4 hourly low. Technically a bearish on the 4 hour because that candle's closed. Well, it's opened. Give me a second. Yeah. You could technically say we are like borderline bullish just because it was a market open there. We just opened below, but we've pushed up. And then on the hourly, yeah, you can still technically say bullish on the hourly. There is more refined supply here, which we are kind of rejecting from. So we'll see if we do form some form of distribution. So far we could be on for a distribution here. But you just have to be aware that there is a lot of demand below. So like that demand's there for a reason because price is very bullish at the moment. Asia low can also be used as the range low. Yeah, we'll see what happens. And yeah, you just got to look at the overall higher time frame. There's a lot of liquidity below. Lots. All right, AUD, the AUD pairs. AUD USD might not be as bearish for now. It's now bullish on the 4 hour. And then it's most likely going to be bullish on the hourly. Yeah, perfect. So obviously he's left behind all this demand. Yeah, that's kind of it. Not a whole lot I'm interested in for the moment. Just leave it as is. We got demand below, we got supply above. Let's just see what level we respect. The daily and weekly, I believe, remains bearish. That's fine. And AUD CHF. A really nice sell side liquidity in a potential confirmed accumulation. Daily bearish. Is it? I would go as far as saying the daily's technically bullish. Weekly's probably weekly's bearish. Daily you can give it the benefit of the doubt and say it's bullish just because of that market open. Regardless, there's just not a whole lot of. I'm trying to look to see if there's any form of demand here that would be interesting, or that would be of use to us. Yeah, that's fine. That is kind of it. Yeah, maybe we look at this as a potential range. We're still bearish on the hourly. That is our hourly high. And then from a local model here, which has fairly decent, it's got a nice return to zone. What could our POIs be? If any, yeah, that is our, this is our extreme liquidity. So depending on how we sweep this and break, then I could potentially look too long this, because the return to zone right now is really, really nice. If we have Asia session highs as well intact, that would be even better, and we do. We actually got some nice highs. Asia high there, Asia high there. This could be quite nice. So let's keep an eye on this. AUD CHF, guys, pin this to your charts. And that is it for Forex today and commodities. I will jump back on here shortly with a crypto market check. I don't see that being too long. Yeah, and that is it. Keep an eye on this. Honestly, this is probably the best pair to monitor for now. So keep an eye out on it, and I will catch you guys all soon. Peace.